America's sweetheart, the woman who made us laugh, cry, and fall in love with Rachel Green over 20 years ago, standing in front of cameras, finally ready to open up about something she's kept hidden from the world. At 56 years old, Jennifer Aniston has lived more lifetimes than most people could imagine. She's been married twice, linked to some of Hollywood's most eligible bachelors, faced heartbreak on the world stage, and somehow managed to keep her dignity, her humor, and that radiant smile that launched 1,000 hair trends. But now, something's different. There's a glow about her that even the most expensive skincare routine can't buy. And it all has to do with a man you've probably never heard of until now. A man who isn't an actor, isn't a director, doesn't walk red carpets or collect awards. His name is Jim Curtis, and the story of how he captured Jennifer Aniston's heart is about to change everything you thought you knew about love, Hollywood relationships, and what it really takes to find happiness after 50. You see, Hollywood has never been kind to Jennifer Aniston's love life. Ever since her marriage to Brad Pitt ended in what became one of the most publicized divorces in entertainment history, the media has been obsessed with one question: when will Jennifer Aniston find love again? Every man she's been photographed with has been scrutinized, analyzed, and turned into tabloid fodder. Every relationship has been measured against an impossible standard, weighed on scales that were rigged from the start. And through it all, Jennifer maintained a grace that seemed almost superhuman. She laughed off the rumors, deflected the invasive questions, and kept living her life with an authenticity that only made us love her more. But behind that famous smile, behind the carefully crafted public persona, there was a woman who was tired of the game, exhausted from performing, ready for something real. For years, the pattern repeated itself. She'd be linked to another Hollywood heavyweight, someone with the right pedigree, the right connections, the perfect jawline for magazine covers. There was Vaughn after her divorce from Brad, a relationship that seemed promising until it fizzled out under the weight of public expectation. Then came John Mayer, the musician who seemed like he could be the one, until he very publicly wasn't. She married Justin Theroux, a writer and actor who seemed like a perfect match on paper. But after 7 years together and 3 years of marriage, that relationship too came to an end. And with each ending, the tabloids had a field day. Poor Jennifer. When will she catch a break? Is she too picky? Too focused on her career? The narrative became exhausting, not just for Jennifer, but for everyone watching this beautiful, talented, successful woman being reduced to her relationship status over and over again. But here's what the tabloids didn't know, what the gossip columns couldn't predict, and what makes this story so incredibly compelling. While everyone was watching the obvious places, while the paparazzi were staking out celebrity hotspots, and the rumor mills were churning through Hollywood's eligible bachelors, Jennifer Aniston was on a completely different journey. She was diving deep into wellness, into self-discovery, into understanding herself in ways that had nothing to do with finding a man and everything to do with finding peace. She was reading books about consciousness and manifestation. She was exploring hypnotherapy and healing modalities. She was, in the most profound way possible, preparing herself to receive the kind of love she'd always deserved but had never quite found. And that's where Jim Curtis enters the story, not as a knight in shining armor charging in to rescue a damsel in distress, but as a man who had done his own work, fought his own battles, and emerged with wisdom that money can't buy and Hollywood can't manufacture. Jim Curtis isn't your typical Hollywood boyfriend. At 50 years old, he's a wellness coach, a master hypnotherapist, an author who has spent the last 2.5 decades helping people transform their lives from the inside out. He's worked with executives, entrepreneurs, and yes, some celebrities, but always from behind the scenes, always focused on the work rather than the spotlight. His mission, as he describes it, has been to help people heal and thrive by upgrading their sense of self, by breaking through the limiting beliefs and patterns that keep them stuck in cycles of pain and disappointment. But Jim Curtis's path to becoming a wellness pioneer wasn't paved with privilege or ease. In fact, his story is one of the most remarkable transformation tales you'll ever hear. And it's precisely this journey that makes him the perfect partner for Jennifer Aniston at this stage of her life. When Jim was just 22 years old, fresh out of the University of New Hampshire's Whitmore School of Business, and beginning a promising career trading health technology options on the American Stock Exchange, his life took a devastating turn. He was diagnosed with lesions on his spinal cord, a condition that brought with it muscle spasms, paralysis, chronic limping, and headaches that would have broken a lesser man. Doctors offered him medications and limited hope. The conventional medical system, for all its advances, couldn't give him back the life he'd envisioned for himself. So Jim Curtis did something radical. He turned inward. He began exploring alternative healing modalities, studying hypnotherapy, neurolinguistic programming, and consciousness work at the Hypnosis Motivation Institute and the NLP Center in New York City. He didn't just want to manage his symptoms. He wanted to understand the deeper patterns that created them. He wanted to transform his relationship with his own body and mind. And over time, through dedicated practice and unwavering commitment to his own healing, he did exactly that. He became a living testament to the power of the mind-body connection, proof that we are not victims of our circumstances, but active participants in our own healing. This experience became the foundation of his life's work, the source of the deep empathy and understanding he brings to everyone he works with. Now imagine Jennifer Aniston, a woman who has spent her entire adult life in the public eye, constantly judged, constantly scrutinized, constantly deal with the pressure to look perfect, act perfect, be perfect, discovering Jim Curtis's work. According to sources close to the couple, Jennifer had actually read Jim's books before they ever met. She was familiar with his approach to healing and transformation. She was drawn to his message that pain and setbacks aren't obstacles to overcome, but opportunities for growth and evolution. In a world where so much of her life had been about performing, about meeting others' expectations, about maintaining an image, here was someone talking about authenticity, about doing the deep inner work, about breaking free from the patterns that keep us trapped in cycles of suffering. The way they actually met is the kind of story that gives you faith in the universe's timing. It was early in 2025, probably spring or early summer, when mutual friends decided these two needed to know each other, not as a setup, not as a blind date, but simply as two people who would appreciate each other's perspective on life. They started as friends, having conversations that went deeper than the usual Hollywood small talk. They talked about consciousness and healing, about what it means to live authentically, about the challenges of maintaining your sense of self in a world that constantly tries to define you. And somewhere in those conversations, something shifted. The friendship began to develop into something more, something neither of them had been looking for, but both recognized as special when arrived. What's fascinating about this relationship is how different it is from everything that came before in Jennifer's life. Jim Curtis isn't trying to compete with Brad Pitt's movie star charisma or match the creative credentials that drew her to Justin Theroux. He's not another Hollywood insider playing the same games by the same rules. He's someone who exists outside that bubble, who brings a completely different energy and perspective to Jennifer's life. Sources close to the couple say that Jim grounds Jennifer in a way her previous partners couldn't. He's comfortable in his own skin, secure in his purpose, not intimidated by her fame or trying to leverage her celebrity for his own advancement. He's simply showing up as himself, offering the kind of solid, authentic presence that allows Jennifer to relax and be herself too. By June 2025, the first hints of their relationship began to emerge. They were spotted together at Ventana Big Sur, a luxury resort on the California coast known for its stunning views and emphasis on wellness and mindfulness. It's exactly the kind of place you'd expect someone like Jim Curtis to appreciate, and exactly the kind of escape Jennifer needed from the constant pressure of Los Angeles. They weren't hiding, but they weren't advertising either. They were simply two people enjoying each other's company, taking walks, having conversations, building something real away from the cameras and commentary. Then came the Spanish vacation that really set tongues wagging. In mid-July, Jennifer and Jim were photographed in Mallorca, and this time they weren't alone. They were joined by Jennifer's longtime friend Jason Bateman and his wife Amanda Anka, turning the trip into a couple's getaway that spoke volumes about where this relationship was heading. For Jennifer to bring Jim into her inner circle, to include him in vacations with her closest friends, meant this was serious. This wasn't a casual fling or a rebound relationship. This was Jennifer introducing someone she genuinely cared about to the people who matter most in her life. And according to everyone who witnessed their interactions, the chemistry was undeniable. They laughed together. They were affectionate in a natural, unself-conscious way. And most tellingly, Jennifer looked happier and more relaxed than she had in years. August brought more sightings and more confirmation that this relationship was deepening. Jennifer and Jim were spotted on a dinner date at Nobu in Malibu, one of Jennifer's favorite restaurants. They were seen double dating again with Jason and Amanda, this time in New York City, where they spent 3 hours at dinner laughing and talking like people who genuinely enjoy each other's company. And with each sighting, with each photograph, the narrative began to shift. This wasn't another Hollywood romance doomed to fail under the weight of impossible expectations. This was something different, something quieter but potentially more enduring. This was two mature adults who had both done their inner work, who both understood themselves and what they needed, coming together with intention and authenticity. But Jennifer, being Jennifer, kept things private for as long as she could. She knew the moment she confirmed this relationship publicly, it would become public property. Every date would be analyzed, every gesture interpreted, every milestone measured against her past relationships. So she waited. She let the relationship develop at its own pace, without the added pressure of public commentary. She and Jim focused on getting to know each other, on building a foundation that could withstand the inevitable scrutiny that would come. And in that waiting, in that deliberate choice to prioritize a relationship over the headlines, you can see the wisdom and maturity Jennifer has gained from her previous experiences. Then came November 2nd, 2025, Jim Curtis's 50th birthday, and Jennifer decided it was time. She posted a photograph on Instagram that made it official, that told the world without ambiguity that she had found someone special. The photo showed them together, obviously happy, obviously in love, and Jennifer's caption was simple but powerful. My love, just 2 words, but they said everything. This wasn't a casual relationship, or maybe someday romance. This was Jennifer Aniston claiming her happiness, celebrating the man who had captured her heart, and daring the world to say anything that might diminish the joy she was so clearly feeling. The response was overwhelming. Fans who had watched Jennifer navigate heartbreak after heartbreak were genuinely thrilled for her. Comments poured in celebrating not just that she'd found someone, but that she'd found someone who seemed so different from the pattern of her past relationships. Here was a man who wasn't defined by Hollywood, who had his own purpose and passion, who could meet Jennifer as an equal partner rather than as someone trying to compete with or capitalize on her fame. The post went viral, but in the best possible way, with people expressing genuine happiness for Jennifer's happiness. But the real story isn't just about Jennifer finding love. It's about what this relationship represents, about the deeper truths it reveals about relationships, healing, and what it takes to find authentic connection in midlife. You see, both Jennifer and Jim came to this relationship having done profound personal work. Jennifer had spent years in therapy, exploring her patterns in relationships, understanding the ways her childhood and her experiences with fame had shaped her choices and partners. She'd done yoga and meditation, explored various healing modalities, and committed to understanding herself on a deeper level. She'd reached a place where she was genuinely happy being single, where she stopped looking for someone to complete her and started focusing on her own completeness. Jim, meanwhile, had turned his own health crisis into a career helping others heal and transform. He'd written 2 books, The Stimulati Experience and Shift, Quantum Manifestation Guide, both focused on helping people break through limiting patterns and step into their fullest potential. He'd worked with thousands of clients, guiding them through processes of transformation and growth. He understood, from deep personal experience, that real change doesn't come from quick fixes or surface-level solutions. It comes from doing the deep, often uncomfortable work of examining your beliefs, your patterns, and your relationship with yourself. And it was this understanding, this depth of wisdom earned through experience, that made him capable of meeting Jennifer where she really was, not where the tabloids or public perception said she should be. What makes their relationship particularly fascinating is how it challenges every assumption we have about celebrity romance. We're used to seeing celebrities date each other, creating these power couples that generate endless media coverage but often implode spectacularly under the pressure. We're accustomed to relationships that seem designed more for Instagram than for actual intimacy, where the optics matter more than the emotional reality. But Jennifer and Jim are writing a different script. They're showing us what it looks like when two people prioritize authenticity over appearance, when they choose depth over drama, when they build something real rather than something that simply photographs well. Sources close to the couple say that Jim brings a sense of calm and centeredness to Jennifer's life that she's never experienced in a relationship before. He's not reactive to the pressures and chaos that come with Jennifer's level of fame. He's seen enough and experienced enough in his own healing journey that the superficial trappings of Hollywood don't impress or intimidate him. He's interested in Jennifer the person, not Jennifer the celebrity. He asks her about her inner world, her dreams, her fears, her growth edges. He supports her not by trying to fix her or change her, but by creating space for her to be fully herself, including the parts she might usually feel the need to hide or manage. And Jennifer, for her part, has found in Jim someone she can truly relax with. Friends say she's more herself around him than she's been in any previous relationship. She doesn't feel the need to perform or maintain a certain image. She can be vulnerable, can admit when she's struggling, can show up exactly as she is in any given moment. There's a safety in the relationship that allows for authentic intimacy, the kind that only develops when both people are secure enough in themselves to allow the other person to be equally secure. It's not the passionate, intense, burn bright and fast kind of love that makes for great movies but terrible real life. It's something steadier, deeper, more sustainable. It's the kind of love that has a chance of lasting because it's built on a foundation of mutual respect, shared values, and genuine friendship. The age factor in their relationship is also worth examining because it tells us something important about love at midlife. Jennifer is 56. Jim is 50. They're both old enough to know themselves, to have moved past the ego-driven needs that often derail younger relationships. They're not trying to prove anything to anyone. They're not performing for an audience or trying to fit into someone else's idea of what a relationship should look like. They've both experienced enough of life to know what matters and what doesn't, what's worth fighting about and what's worth letting go. They both learned the hard way that you can't build lasting happiness on a foundation of illusion or performance. You have to be willing to show up as your real self with all your imperfections and vulnerabilities and trust that you're worthy of love exactly as you are. This is the wisdom that only comes with age and experience, and it's what makes their relationship so potentially powerful. They're not trying to complete each other or fix each other. They're two whole people choosing to share their lives, to support each other's continued growth and evolution, to build something together while maintaining their individual identities. Jim continues his work as a wellness coach and hypnotherapist, continues writing and teaching, and helping people transform their lives. Jennifer continues her acting career, her production work, her various business ventures. They each have their own purposes and passions, and they come together to celebrate and support each other's pursuits rather than competing or trying to subsume one identity into the other. The contrast with Jennifer's previous high-profile relationships couldn't be more stark. Her marriage to Brad Pitt was the ultimate Hollywood fairy tale until it wasn't, ending in spectacular fashion when Brad left her for Angelina Jolie during the filming of Mr. and Mrs. Smith. The public humiliation of that situation, having to navigate heartbreak while the entire world watched and commented, would have destroyed many people. But Jennifer handled it with remarkable grace, refusing to engage in public mudslinging, focusing on moving forward rather than dwelling in bitterness. Still, the emotional toll was immense, and it shaped how she approached relationships moving forward. Her marriage to Justin Theroux seemed like it might be the answer, the evidence that she could move past the Brad Pitt chapter and build something new. Justin was creative, intelligent, seemed to genuinely adore her. But ultimately, that relationship revealed the challenges of trying to merge two very different lifestyles and priorities. Justin preferred a grittier, more urban life in New York, while Jennifer was rooted in Los Angeles, in her home, her routines, her established life. They tried to make it work, maintaining residences on both coasts, but the strain of constantly negotiating those differences eventually proved too much. The relationship ended not with drama, but with a kind of mature acknowledgement that wanting different things doesn't make either person wrong. It just makes you incompatible. In between and after those marriages, there were other relationships, other possibilities that didn't pan out. Vince Vaughn was fun and funny, but ultimately not substantial enough for the long term. John Mayer was complicated and emotionally unavailable despite the initial chemistry. There were rumors about various other actors and businessmen, some true and some completely fabricated by tabloids desperate for Jennifer Aniston content. Through it all, Jennifer maintained her dignity and her sense of humor, but you could see the toll it was taking. In interviews, when inevitably asked about her love life, you could sometimes catch a glimpse of weariness behind the polished responses, a tiredness with the whole narrative that her life was somehow incomplete or tragic because she wasn't currently married. This is what makes the Jim Curtis relationship so refreshing and so hopeful. Jennifer isn't approaching this from a place of desperation or need. She's not tried to prove anything to the tabloids or silence the critics who spent years questioning why she hasn't found lasting love. She simply allowed herself to enjoy a connection with someone who sees her, values her, and shows up for her in ways that feel genuine and sustainable. She's choosing something real over something that would make good headlines. She's prioritizing her actual happiness over public perception. And in doing so, she's modeling something important for everyone watching, especially women over 40 who've been fed the message that their value diminishes with age and their chances at love decrease with every passing year. Because here's the truth that Jennifer and Jim's relationship illuminates. The best relationships often come when you stop desperately seeking them and started focusing on your own wholeness. When you've done the work to understand yourself, heal your wounds, and become secure in who you are independent of anyone else's validation. When you can come to a relationship as a complete person rather than as someone looking for another person to fill your gaps and solve your problems. This is what both Jennifer and Jim had achieved before they found each other, and it's why their relationship has such potential to succeed where others have failed. Jim's work as a hypnotherapist and wellness coach also brings something unique to the relationship. He understands, at a professional level, the patterns and dynamics that create suffering in relationships. He knows how to communicate in ways that de-escalate conflict rather than intensify it. He understands the importance of doing your own inner work rather than projecting your unresolved issues onto your partner. He spent years helping other people navigate the complexities of consciousness and healing, and he brings all that wisdom and skill to his relationship with Jennifer, not in a therapist-client way, but in a way that anyone who's deeply knowledgeable about human psychology and emotional well-being can't help but show up differently in their personal relationships. And Jennifer, for all her fame and success, has remained remarkably grounded and committed to her own growth. She's been open about her therapy journey, about the work she's done to understand patterns from her childhood and how they played out in her adult relationships. She practices yoga and meditation regularly. She's explored various spiritual and healing modalities. She takes her mental and emotional health seriously, not as a luxury or an indulgence, but as essential maintenance for navigating the unique pressures of her life. This shared commitment to growth and healing creates a foundation for their relationship that goes far beyond surface attraction or shared interests. They're both committed to being the best versions of themselves, and they support each other in that ongoing process. The public's reaction to their relationship has been overwhelmingly positive, and that's worth noting because it reflects a shift in how we think about celebrity relationships and aging in Hollywood. There's genuine happiness for Jennifer, a sense that she deserves this after everything she's been through. There's appreciation for the fact that Jim isn't another actor or Hollywood insider, but someone with his own substantive work and purpose. There's recognition that this relationship, precisely because it's quieter and more private than her previous ones, might have better staying power. And there's a broader message being received about love and possibility at any age, that your 50s can be a time of renewal and new beginnings rather than resignation and settling. The way Jennifer has been glowing in recent appearances speaks volumes. She's always been beautiful, always maintained an enviable level of fitness and style. But there's something different now, something that can't be attributed to skincare or personal training. It's the glow that comes from being genuinely happy, from being in a relationship where you feel safe and seen and celebrated for who you actually are. It's the relaxation that comes from not having to perform or maintain an image every moment. It's the joy that comes from building something real with someone who values authenticity over appearance. As their relationship continues to develop and deepen, the question on everyone's mind is, where does it go from here? Will they move in together? Get engaged? Married? Have a destination wedding in Greece, as some rumors have suggested? And while those are natural questions, they might be missing the point. The real story here isn't about what conventional milestones this relationship hits. It's about two people who found something rare and valuable in each other and are choosing to nurture and protect it. They're not rushing toward societal expectations of what a relationship should look like. They're letting their relationship unfold at its own pace, in its own way, according to what feels right for them rather than what would satisfy public curiosity or generate the most headlines. There's wisdom in that approach that comes from experience. Jennifer has been engaged, married, divorced. She knows that hitting those milestones doesn't guarantee happiness or longevity. What matters is the day-to-day reality of the relationship, the small moment of connection and support, the ways you show up for each other when things are hard, the ability to laugh together and face challenges as a team. These are the things that determine whether a relationship lasts, not whether you've made it Instagram official or gotten a ring on your finger. And both Jennifer and Jim seem to understand that implicitly, which bodes well for their future together. One of the most beautiful aspects of their relationship is how it challenges ageist assumptions about romance and desirability. We live in a culture that tells women their value decreases with age, that their window for romance closes at some arbitrary point, that they should feel grateful for whatever scraps of attention they can get past 40. Jennifer Aniston at 56, radiantly happy in a new relationship with a man who obviously adores her, completely obliterates that narrative. She's proof that love doesn't have an expiration date, that women in their 50s and beyond can be desired and celebrated and chosen by partners who see their full value. She's showing a generation of women that life doesn't end at 50, that in fact some of the best chapters might just be beginning. Jim Curtis, for his part, represents a different kind of masculinity than we often see celebrated in Hollywood. He's not the action hero or the brooding artist. He's someone whose power comes from emotional intelligence, from the ability to hold space for healing and transformation, from the wisdom he's gained through his own journey from crisis to wholeness. He's comfortable enough in himself that he doesn't need to compete with Jennifer's fame or try to overshadow her success. He can celebrate her and support her while maintaining his own identity and purpose. That's a mature masculinity that we need to see more of, and the fact that Jennifer has chosen someone who embodies these qualities says a lot about her own evolution and what she now values in partner. Their relationship also highlights the importance of shared values over shared profession or social status. Jim and Jennifer don't work in the same industry. They don't move in exactly the same social circles. But they share a commitment to consciousness, to healing, to living authentically and helping others do the same. These shared values create a much stronger foundation than simply having the same career or attending the same parties ever could. They give the relationship depth and meaning beyond surface compatibility. They ensure that even as external circumstances change, as careers evolve and life throws inevitable curveballs, there's a core alignment that remains steady. As Jennifer has opened up more about the relationship, including in a recent revealing interview with Elle magazine, where she called Jim extraordinary and discussed his healing work, you can hear the genuine admiration and respect in how she talks about him. She's not performing for the camera or giving rehearsed sound bites. She's speaking from the heart about someone who has clearly made a profound impact on her life. She talks about his ability to help people heal, about the wisdom he brings from his own experiences, about the way he shows up in the world with integrity and authenticity. These aren't the things you say about someone you're casually dating. These are the things you say about someone you deeply respect and could see building a future with. Jim has been more reserved publicly, which is consistent with who he is as a person. He's not someone who seeks the spotlight or uses relationships for publicity. He's shared some photos on his own Instagram, showing moments in their time together, always with respect and affection, but never exploiting the relationship for attention. He continues to focus on his work, continuing to write and teach and guide people through transformation. He's not trying to become famous by association. He's simply living his life, which now includes his relationship with an extraordinary woman, and handling that with the same groundedness he brings to everything else. The contrast between this relationship and the media circus around some of Jennifer's previous relationships is striking. When she was with Brad, every appearance was analyzed, every gesture interpreted, every rumor given credence. The same happened with Justin Theroux, with photographers constantly stalking them, magazines inventing drama, where none existed. The public feeling entitled to comment on every aspect of their relationship. With Jim, while there's certainly interest and coverage, it feels different. Maybe it's because they've been more private, keeping more of their relationship to themselves. Maybe it's because Jim isn't a public figure in the same way Jennifer's previous partners were. Or maybe it's because Jennifer herself is handling it differently, setting firmer boundaries, refusing to feed the beast of public curiosity at the expense of her private happiness. Whatever the reason, it's working. The relationship appears to be thriving precisely because it's not being lived for public consumption. They're not staging photo ops or selling their story to magazines. They're simply living their lives, sharing what they want to share when they want to share it, and keeping the rest sacred and private. This is a level of maturity and boundary setting that serves them well and models something important for anyone navigating relationships in an era where social media pressure to perform your happiness for others can be overwhelming. The impact of this relationship on Jennifer's overall well-being is evident to anyone paying attention. She seems lighter, more joyful, more at peace than she has in years. Friends close to her have commented on how happy she is, how this relationship feels different from anything she's experienced before. She's thriving professionally, with multiple projects in development, and her continued success with the morning show on Apple TV+. She's connected to her friends and her chosen family. And now she has this relationship that adds to her happiness rather than complicating it or creating more stress. It's the kind of holistic well-being that can only come when all the pieces of your life are working together rather than competing or creating conflict. For Jim, the relationship with Jennifer has certainly raised his public profile, though that was never his intention or desire. He's had to adjust to a level of attention and scrutiny that's completely foreign to someone who spent his career working behind the scenes. But by all accounts, he's handling it with grace and maintaining his focus on what matters: his work, his purpose, and his relationship with Jennifer. He's not trying to leverage the attention into more clients or higher fees. He's not doing reality shows or selling tell-all interviews. He's continuing to be who he's always been, just now with more people watching and commenting. That consistency and integrity are exactly what Jennifer needs from a partner, and exactly what makes him different from so many others who've been in her orbit. As we look at this relationship and what it represents, it's hard not to feel hopeful not just for Jennifer and Jim, but for what their story tells us about love, healing, and possibility. We live in a culture that's often cynical about relationships, that expects them to fail, and almost gleefully anticipates the next celebrity breakup. But here are two people who've both been through their own versions of hell, who've both done the hard work of healing and growing, who've both reached a place of wholeness on their own, choosing to come together and build something beautiful. They're not perfect, and their relationship won't be perfect. But they have the wisdom, the tools, and the commitment to navigate the inevitable challenges that every relationship faces. The truth that Jennifer and Jim's relationship illuminates is this: love is always possible. Growth is always possible. Healing is always possible, as long as you're willing to do the work and stay open to possibility. Jennifer could have closed her heart after the pain of her previous relationships. She could have decided that love wasn't worth the risk, that being single was safer and easier than opening herself up to potential heartbreak again. But she didn't. She stayed open. She kept growing. She kept believing that the right person at the right time was possible. And in Jim Curtis, it appears she may have found exactly that. Their story is still being written, and who knows exactly where it will lead. But right now, in this moment, we have the privilege of witnessing two people who found each other when they were both finally ready, when they both done enough of their own work to recognize and appreciate what they had in each other. We get to watch Jennifer Aniston, after years of public heartbreak and media speculation, simply being happy with someone who sees her for who she really is. We get to see Jim Curtis, a man who has dedicated his life to helping others heal and transform, find his own kind of healing and happiness in this unexpected relationship. And we get to be reminded that it's never too late. You're never too old. You're never too damaged or too complicated to find authentic love if you're willing to do the work and stay open to possibility. This is the secret romance that Jennifer Aniston is finally exposing to the world, not with explosive revelations or scandalous details, but simply by allowing us to see her genuine happiness. The truth she's revealing isn't about secret meetings or hidden relationships. It's about the truth of what love looks like when you've done your inner work, when you know yourself, when you refuse to settle for anything less than authentic connection. It's about the truth that the best relationships often come when you stop desperately seeking them and started focusing on your own wholeness. It's about the truth that healing is possible, growth is possible, and love is possible at any age if you're brave enough to stay open to it. As Jennifer and Jim continue building their relationship away from the cameras, navigating the unique challenges that come with Jennifer's level of fame while protecting the sacred private space where real intimacy develops, they're writing a love story for our times. Not a fairy tale with unrealistic expectations and guaranteed happy endings, but a real story about real people doing real work to build something meaningful and lasting. They're showing us that romance isn't dead. It's just evolving. That the love stories worth telling aren't always the loudest or most dramatic, but sometimes the quietest and most authentic. That true partnership isn't about completion, but about two whole people choosing each other day after day, and doing the work required to keep choosing each other even when it's hard. And in the end, that might be the most important truth Jennifer Aniston is exposing. That love, real love, the kind that lasts and sustains and enriches your life, requires consciousness, commitment, and courage. It requires a willingness to know yourself deeply, to heal your wounds, to show up authentically even when that's scary. It requires finding someone who's done their own work and can meet you as an equal rather than someone looking for you to complete them or solve their problems. And it requires the wisdom to recognize that relationship when it appears, even if it doesn't look like what you expected or what everyone else thinks you should have. Jennifer Aniston at 56 has found this kind of love with Jim Curtis, a 50-year-old wellness coach who never sought the spotlight but found himself in it anyway because of his connection to one of the world's most famous women. Together, they're proving that the best chapters of your life might still be ahead of you, that growth and transformation are lifelong journeys, and that true love is always possible when you're brave enough to be your authentic self and open enough to recognize it in another person. Their story is just beginning, and whatever happens next, they've already given us something valuable: hope, inspiration, and a reminder that happiness is always possible if we're willing to do the work to create it, both within ourselves and with another person who's equally committed to that journey.